So it's been a little while since I've talked about Sugar Sean O'Malley on this podcast, and really I don't think that there's been very much reason to. Because as popular a fighter as he might be, over the last couple of years he hasn't really done anything. He hasn't really done very much in this sport that was actually worth noting. But he did do something this past week that absolutely could not be ignored. He came out of the woodwork, after Marlon Chito Vera, defeated Rob Font, in the main event on UFC Fight Night, and came out and said, it's like, yeah, okay, Chito Vera is finally worthy of a rematch with me. And of course, as any MMA fan out there really should know, Chito Vera defeated Sean O'Malley. Chito Vera knocked Sean O'Malley the fuck out. And so for Sean O'Malley to come out and say that Marlon Vera had to go out and earn a rematch, that is some clown shit right there. And if you want to understand exactly why, all you have to do is take a look at what these two fighters have done. In the 2 years, I'm pretty sure it's been about 2 years now, since Chito Vera knocked Sean O'Malley the fuck out and handed him his first loss. So since that time, Marlon Vera has fought the following guys: Jose Aldo, Davey Grant, Frankie Edgar, and Rob Font. Now, he lost to Jose Aldo, but he beat the other three guys. This is what the ranking of those fighters were. Jose Aldo was ranked number 3 in the world at bantamweight. Davey Grant was ranked number 40. Frankie Edgar was ranked number 15. And Rob Font was ranked number 5. And so, of course, as a result of his most recent victory, Chito Vera is in the top 5 of the bantamweight in the UFC, and he belongs there. Over the same period of time, Sean O'Malley fought Thomas Almeida, Chris Moutinho, and Raulian Paiva. Respectively, those guys have been were at the time, I should say, ranked number 91, number 129, and number 21. And by the way, Sean O'Malley, he really only, he couldn't put the number 129 guy away. Well, actually he did, but not until like the very last seconds of the fight. It actually turned out to be more of a star-making performance for Chris Moutinho than it actually was for Sean O'Malley. But I mean, there you have it. You have a story of two very different fighters going in two different directions. What Sean O'Malley should have been doing over the past 2 years was actually, he should have been following the path of Marlon Vera and proving that he deserved a rematch. So when Marlon Vera fought Jose Aldo, Sean O'Malley should have at least been trying to get that fight. I'm not entirely convinced that he would have gotten that fight, but he should have at least tried. When Marlon Vera fought Davey Grant, Sean O'Malley should have gone out and asked for that fight, and you know what? I'll bet that he would have gotten it. Likewise with Frankie Edgar, and likewise with Rob Font. But he didn't do any of those things. Instead, he actually went out and he fought guys that basically everybody just assumed that he was supposed to beat. He went out and he fought guys that were not nearly on his level. The UFC has definitely not been shy about protecting Sean O'Malley over the last little while. And somehow Sean O'Malley during that period of time has managed to worm his way into the top 15. Somehow he's number 13. He hasn't fought, pardon me, I should rather say that he has one fight against a top 15 opponent in the UFC. It was Marlon Vera, and he lost. I don't really understand how a guy could be number 13 in the bantamweight division of the top MMA promotion in the entire world without having actually beaten a top 15 fighter. But somehow there you have it. It is what it is, you know, as much as it defies explanation. There you have it. But now suddenly Sean O'Malley, who over the past 2 years has actually done everything that he could to avoid any kind of serious competition, and that almost bit him in the ass when he almost, when he almost didn't come away with a finish against the number 129 ranked guy in the world. Suddenly now he's rolling along and acting like he's the one, that he's the one that something has to be proven to. No, that's not how this sport works. You don't prove shit by beating guys ranked number 91 and number 129. And you certainly don't prove yourself better than the guy ranked in the top 5, by beating guys, by beating guys who are sometimes not even in the top 100 of this sport. This is some flat out clown shit. Sean O'Malley is an entitled little tit. And I think that if there was any justice in the world, the UFC would just cut him. Like, just cut him, let him take his clown hair off and work at McDonald's. I don't know. Let him smoke a bunch of pot. Let him work on his podcast. Let him go get famous some other way. The fact that Marlon Vera has been doing the majority of his work that he's been doing over the past 2 years, on free TV, while somehow Sean O'Malley has been worming his way onto pay-per-view, to fight guys that are, some of them I would say probably have a lot more potential than they've had the opportunity to realize just yet. But at present, they're plugs. And that is kind of what they are. But the fact that the UFC would actually put that shit show on pay-per-view and make one of the guys who has actually earned his place, go toil on free TV, kind of goes to show you that, of all the things that we could say about the UFC, the idea that the UFC is a meritocracy, that's entirely mythical. Because really in this promotion, if you got what you earned, and if you got what you deserved, then Marlon Vera would have been spending the last couple of years on pay-per-view, while Sean O'Malley, I don't know, maybe they could keep putting him on the Contender Series. Maybe put him on a season of The Ultimate Fighter again. Something like that. Definitely has not earned his spot in the pay-per-view spotlight. And if he really was a serious competitor, I think that he would be embarrassed to be there. But he's made it clear time and time again that all he wants is to be famous. And it seems like all the UFC wants to do is help him become famous. And it doesn't really matter if it's at the direct, the direct expense of the guy who right now looks like he's the heart and soul of that bantamweight division. And because he's the heart and soul of that bantamweight division, I'm sure that Chito Vera would have no problem fighting Sean O'Malley again. But I kind of feel like if I was in his position, I would be telling him, no, if you want another fight with me, you go do what I did, and you show that you can hold a candle to me. Because so far, Sean O'Malley hasn't.